It's Randy Lee, and bringing the episode 168 of Flipping Genius. And today we are blessed to have my good friend Andrew from Rogue Wrenching join us for his second visit to the podcast. This should be a lot of fun. Andrew's had some good success on a couple diesel trucks that he wants to share with us and talk a little bit about what he's doing over in Arizona flipping, and totally different thing that what I usually talk about, and I'm excited to hear the rest of Andrew's story. Andrew, thanks for joining us, and without further ado, let's bring him on to the podcast.
Well, my new podcast, it's called the American Not Partisan Podcast. We talk about things that helps unify us as Americans and focus on the things that bring us together and not the things that pull us apart. So our first episode drops Saturday, July 1st. We're available on all the platforms eventually. We're going to hit Spotify and YouTube for sure on Saturday, and then we're going to add beyond that.
Okay. The American Not Partisan Podcast.
Yes, sir. That's the one.
Yeah, but you're not going to wait till July 4th to do it. You're going to do it on July 1st.
You know, and on the one hand, that's maybe a minor oversight, but on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe we should change that.
No, that's good.
Either way, it's for sure up by July 4th.
I like the concept. I think that you guys may be magicians trying to skate that.
That's it's a big ask, but I think there's a lot of things that can unite us as a country and kind of bring us together more than the things that divide us.
I believe I'll be listening because I want to hear about that, because I love America, and I love Americans, and they come in all shapes and sizes and ideas, and
they all need to drive a car to get to work and to school and to home, and that's where we come in. My name is Andrew. This is Randy Lee. Welcome to the Flipping Genius podcast.
I usually throw that stuff in early.
I know,
but no, man, this is so great. Andrew, thanks so much for coming back a second time. That happens every now and then, and for you being your idea, that was really cool too. Andrew is the he runs the Rogue Wrenching YouTube channel, a channel that's rapidly growing in popularity. I'm excited for you. I just added. I saw that I could add my favorite channels at the bottom of my channel, and I threw you in there. The other guys all have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of folks, and you're not quite there yet, but I bet you get there.
Not yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
That's exciting. I watched a video you did this morning. I think it was one of your shorts. It wasn't completely. A lot of your short videos are pretty popular. This one was the diesel test, showing the different, how you could test if the fuel.
Yes, that was a fun one. I enjoyed that one.
That was very educational. Good job too. Good quality. Lots of good stuff. So Andrew says he's starting a new podcast called the American Not Partisan Podcast. So check that out after July 1st. And he's gonna try to unite us all as Americans. Man, you may be big someday. We may be voting for you.
That's not something that I ever want. If I can help foster good conversation and encourage people, I'm all about that. I'm on the board of my HOA, and that's as far as I want to go as far as public office goes.
My brother has been doing some of that kind of thing, and I can feel your pain there. And I do. I wonder about the people that sacrifice their life to try to help run our country. I mean, some of them got to be pretty decent people, but they all must be a little bit crazy, because man, that is a task.
I like things that you can put your hands on, right? Like when I fix a car, whether it's for a customer or flip cars, like you can see it, you can touch it. There's something meaningful that's been done. I feel like a lot of politics is like, I don't want to say wishful thinking, but it's less tangible, the work that you're doing.
Oh yeah. Well, it'll be fun to hear what you guys come up with. Now you have a partner on the podcast. Who is that?
It's my good friend Alex. We've been friends for a lot of years, and I don't remember how we originally met. I think through a homeschool group when we were both little kids.
Okay.
He was in my wedding. I didn't even get invited to his wedding, which is kind of lame. But he also lives in like Oklahoma, which is kind of far away from me.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So one
Yeah.
of the reasons that I wanted to kind of come back on the podcast to talk about things, and also as I was looking through the Flipping Genius Facebook group, which if you're listening and you're not a member, definitely check that out. There's a lot of good information. I do my best to help and engage with people as much as I can.
You do.
But there was a guy asking a question today, and he was asking kind of like where do you stop fixing things,
Correct.
on a car, and just because like on the one hand, like, are you ever done? And we are in this to make money. And so where do we find that? And I think that kind of ties into what I wanted to share, which was kind of telling the story of the 2 auction trucks that I bought. We had talked about those last time I was on, that I had just bought them and I wasn't sure they were going to shake out, and they're both sold now. So
yeah, that was episode 159 of Flipping Genius, and we talked about that, and you said it'd be a good idea to come back on when you get these wrapped up, and now you have, and you reached out and said, hey, I'm ready to come back on, and I went and played more disc golf and goofed around some more, and you said, hey, I'm ready, really ready, and so here we are. I've been getting lazier and lazier as time goes by, but I appreciate your persistence, and
I understand that.
I'm excited to hear it. I now one thing I noticed, you look like you cleaned that truck up pretty good cosmetically, the second one, which that seemed like that wasn't really your target when you first started, and I noticed some of the feedback you got from the car flipping forum, from some of the other flippers were, dress that thing up a little bit, and I could tell from the pictures that you had.
Yeah, so basically the first truck that I got, honestly, with both of these trucks, there were not a whole lot of work I had to do to get them ready to go. They both ran and drove. Like I brought them home. I got temp permits for them. I took them. One of the things that I like to do whenever possible is so we have emissions inspections in not necessarily the state of Arizona. I live in Maricopa County, which is where Phoenix is, and we have emissions inspections. So the car has to go and pass an emissions test before it can be licensed or registered. So that's one of the things that I do. It costs like $25. It's about a 25-minute drive from my house. So you can be there and back in an hour and spend $25. And then it's like, hey, the state says this car is clean. You're not gonna have any issue with registering it because the emissions is done. So like I brought them home and I drove them to emissions as they were. Like they didn't require any work to be able to drive them. So there were 2 trucks. There was a 2005 that I did basically some basic service work to it, an oil change, wiper blades. The big thing that I did to both of the trucks was I put a new headliner in both of them. The headliner was sagging, and it wasn't. One of them, it like the front edge was kind of fraying along the top of the windshield, and it was irritating, but not the end of the world. The other one, the whole thing was hanging down, and it was bad enough when I went out for my emissions test. It was like, rubbing on my head as I'm driving, and I literally pulled over on the side of the road and ripped it out. It was so irritating. But I was like, if that irritates me, it's going to irritate someone who buys it.
Right.
So what I had seen a guy that I worked with years ago put a headliner in, and I had asked him about it because I was like, I've never seen someone do a headliner before. I'm like, how hard is this? And he's like, oh, it's not hard. You go to Hobby Lobby, you buy the material. I think I bought enough material to do both headliners for like $35. I got the glue on Amazon for $10 or $15. I did both headliners for less than $50.
Okay.
So peeled the old stuff off, glued down the new stuff, trimmed it, put it back in. On a single cab truck like this, took me about hour and a half, 2 hours per truck.
Okay. So
the first one was a little slower.
It's like a spray-on adhesive that you use. Is that correct?
I brought a sample because I thought this might come up in conversation.
Yeah.
So this is the material that we use for headliners. If you're just listening, I'll describe it for you. It's got a foam backing here on this side, and then there's the headliner cloth on this side.
I see.
So when your headliner starts sagging, the problem is the adhesion between the foam, or between the cloth on the front and the foam on the back, starts to come apart, and so just that really thin fabric starts to hang.
Okay.
So if you just pull that off, the problem is that gluing to foam that's coming apart is really hard. There's not a lot of good adhesives that will bond because it's just crumbling in your hands.
Right.
So glue doesn't really stick to it because it just crumbles off.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the headliner out and then use like a drill with a nylon brush, and just if the foam's great enough, you can just rub your hand over it and it'll fall off.
Right.
And then you take your material. I just do a rough cut, pair of scissors, good sewing scissors because it's kind of hard to cut it cleanly. Take a pair of scissors, cut it roughly to shape. You spray a coat of glue. It's like a spray on adhesive. You spray a coat onto your foam material, and then you spray a coat onto the headliner itself, and then you just stick them together and push it down, work all the wrinkles out. And the first one had a few little wrinkles, but the second one definitely looked better.
Huh. And I mean, you got it from Hobby Lobby? Is that what you said?
Yeah. It came from Hobby Lobby. They only had one color. That was this gray, which is just a touch darker than the factory gray, but it still worked out and it looked great. There's lots of other places you can buy. You can buy this bulk headliner material by the yard from a lot of different craft stores have it, which isn't where I normally go for automotive stuff. But hey, if it works,
that's a good fix, and it's an interesting. I know it's not really where we probably planned this to talk, but since you mentioned that question, I love that question, and I love the answers that we saw on the forum, because I'm dealing personally in the bottom end of the market where people that buy vehicles from me, they just want transportation. They like them to look kind of nice as they can afford, but that's not their primary thing. But this headliner thing, that's something that, like you said, it's a something that will stop them. They'll turn them off from buying the vehicle. And now here's my primary tool for headliners. This is my staple gun, my office staple gun. I just pop it, I pop it out of there, and I just go like this and boom, boom, boom around the edges, and I stapled it to that remaining foam, and that's a real half-ass job. Now I can't do that on all of them, but I probably had 3 of them in the last year that there was enough foam at the front of the windshield and the back windshield to staple around that little hang down and make it look better. But I have pulled headliners out because they were so crappy that it was better without anything than with what was there. But I tried to do some kind of adhesive, but I did what you just, I didn't do the thing where I stripped out what was there, and my thing just failed because you couldn't get the adhesive on there. But this is an example of something that would be worth doing an hour and a half of your time to make it.
It's super low cost.
Yeah,
super low cost and a big difference.
You'll bump the price up to quite a bit. You're going to get paid for that.
More than $35, that's for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, even if you only get an extra $200 or $300, I mean, if we turn that into dollars per hour, let's assume it's not. Maybe it takes you 3 hours. You get $300 extra for it. Minus, you're making $90 an hour. Like, that's not a bad gig. I'll do that every day of the week.
Yeah. So you like to kind of put stuff out there. So when their friend gets in the car and they say, "Where'd you buy this?" You don't want them to say, "Where'd you buy this piece of crap?" And they go, "Oh, I got it down there from Randy Lee. He sells this."
Yeah, don't go to him. No. That's not what we want. We want people that are happy. We want people that tell their friends about us.
Yeah.
And that's easier for you in the dealer world because how many cars do you sell a week on average, you say?
Oh, I'm a very lazy man. And it's actually an episode will be coming up soon where I talk about success and I talk about dominance. But my idea at age going on 63 of success is different than what it was when I was 33.
Sure.
So these days I am probably selling about 3 cars a month. That's probably what I'm doing.
Okay.
So, and I try to make anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per vehicle, and I'm pretty good at that. And of course, my comment to that same question today was the same, pretty much the same answer. I've said in the past that I'm on the 167th episode of Flipping Genius, and I know the truth is that we could combine my knowledge of this business into this one phrase: buy low, sell high. That is the principal focus of what I do. I now you are a diesel technician. About how to take things apart and put them back together.
correctly, and so they work when they're done. that's
Yeah,
that's
I
the secret sauce right there.
I would always come up with extra parts. So I know how to get the vehicle from wherever it's at over to Dennis Johnson and have them do the work. I know how to make relationship with guys that I trust that
Yeah.
leave a little meat on the bone for me, and I know how to buy them right. And that's really my secret. But the beautiful thing is there's room for all of us in this game. There really is, and I love the fact that more and more people are joining the car flipping forum. And thanks for the plug. That's you saved me from saying it 19 times during the thing. It is free to join. Free to join. My favorite F word, FREE. Free to join.
Yes, sir.
Just search Flipping Genius on Facebook groups, and it's the first thing that's going to come up on there. And it's getting funner and funner because people are reaching out to each other and truly trying to help each other. I'm hoping to get a new member that was just on, and forgive me, I don't remember her name right now, but I really am excited. She's a car dealer in Pennsylvania, a new car dealer, and she's a female.
Yeah, I saw her post.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool because she's new to it. I'm looking forward to hearing her story. She's got a nice setup there. Every state's different as far as what you're required to do. I mean, you were just talking about the emissions rules there in Arizona. Got a kind of an interesting one that I just handed the keys over yesterday. I got a couple that are missionaries in Africa, and they come home during the summer for 2 months, and they said, Randy, is there a way we could get a car from you and not have to rent a car on a weekly basis for the 2 months we're home, because it practically breaks us. And I found they needed enough room for a big family. They got a big family there. It's wild what people do to sacrifice for their beliefs. And I really wanted to help these folks. I found a great Kia van, good vehicle. Dennis and the guys checked it out, fixed it up so it'd be safe to drive. They needed to go back and forth to St. Louis and back over here to Alabama and carry 3 kids and a mother-in-law with them. So it needed to be safe. I was able to buy that right and sell it to them. They'll drive it for 2 months, and then I'm going to buy it back. I think I might be crazy, but I think in the end I'll still walk away with a profit on that one. That was kind of a cool one. I'm not sure why I brought that up, but then anyway, I guess I wanted to talk about.
Well,
that.
I think it ties back to there was some that I had posted in the forum here when I sold my first one. It was when my head made this connection. And this is like I really had understood before, and I'm still working on how to honing it. But that sales and specifically selling a car is not about like convincing someone to buy something, but it's about convincing someone who needs something, a problem with a solution, or connecting a problem with a solution, right? So I sold the first truck that I had. These 2 trucks were almost identical. One was a year newer. There's a couple of minor differences, but almost identical trucks. One had a lot more miles than the other one, but had some extra. One had cruise control, one didn't. Little differences, but basically they're both work trucks. They came from a concrete company. The first one I ended up selling to a friend of mine who started a landscape business about a year ago, and he had outgrown his little pickup and he needed something bigger. And I was able to work out a really great deal with him where he put a decent bit down and then was able to make payments for the rest of it. That truck's going to be paid off in like I want to say a month and 4 days. August 1st is his last payment. We set it up with three payments. That got him into something that he needed that was going to work for him so he could go out and make money without payments breaking the bank for him.
Great.
That was great. When I tell you this man loves this truck, I'm telling you, this guy loves his truck. It's so much fun to watch a young person as they're coming into their entrepreneurial venture and it's working and they get this new piece of equipment and it just works and they love it.
Yeah.
And then the other one I sold, I actually just sold it. Let's see, we're recording this on a Monday. I sold it was that Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday. Thursday night is when I sold it Wednesday, and then it was like they didn't have the cash there. They put a deposit down, then came back Friday and paid the rest and picked up the truck. And it was a husband and wife that started a pool maintenance company, and things were going really well for them. They were just using their family car driving around, and they got to a point where like, we can't pull a trailer with this. We can't put big pool pumps in this thing. We're carrying too many chemicals. We're killing our car. We can't move our kids around, and we've got these chemicals in the car where we carry our kids, and we don't want to do that anymore.
Sure.
And they found my truck, and it was well within their budget. Like I think their budget was up to 10 grand. I sold it for 6,500.
Wow. Yeah.
So came in well below their budget. They brought a mechanic friend with it. He looked at it. He's like, if you guys don't buy this, I'm going to buy this. You know, it really, really solid, like got them into a piece of equipment that they needed. And that's really what it's about, is helping connect people that need something with a solution, right? Obviously, you and I are in this game to make money. You know, we're not,
right.
And this is what I tell people when they ask for like free stuff. It's like, I'm a Christian, and so I believe in giving, right, and being generous, and I do that, but I don't do that with my vehicles or with my work generally. Like some rare circumstances I will, but like when I'm selling something on Facebook or whatever, I don't do my charity work on Facebook Marketplace. Sure. I do it elsewhere. You know, so that's, some people will come with and I hate to, like, they'll come to you with like a sob story of whatever, and it's like, I feel bad for you, I'm really sorry. In some cases, sometimes I can help a little bit, but not usually. It's not like I can just give you this car that I'm into this car for $3,000. I can't just light that on fire, right? You know.
Yeah, and sometimes I think sometimes when you do, if you did take that option, I think a lot of times you're not really helping anybody. I'm like,
that's,
you know, it's my old school thinking, but you know, give a fat man a fish and feed him for a day, and you know, teach him how man to fish and all that stuff. And the folks that I was talking about, I sold them the vehicle. I gave them a good price, but I made a very good profit on the front end. Agreed to buy it at the back end. And when I buy it back from them, I'm going to take it and do a few. I know why I mentioned it, because I fixed it up so it could be licensed in Alabama. When they bring it back, I'll be fixing it up so it can be licensed in Tennessee. Those are two different things. You wouldn't think there'd be much of a difference because I can drive to Tennessee in about 10 minutes. But that those emissions rules are different in Tennessee.
Interesting.
And so I'll put a little more money in it, and then I'll sell it for more money. I'll make money in both incidences, and it's only going to cost them about $500 to drive this car for 2 months. So it was a win.
Yeah, which is a heck of a deal. I mean, that thing is like, you make more money. They get a great car. Like you're connecting a problem with a solution. You're coming out making money. They got a good deal. Like that's the thing. It's like, it's possible for us as people that flip cars to to buy low and sell high, and when we're selling high, still give someone a good, fair price.
It's so possible. It's amazing. My wife she is such a rule follower. I have had a very colorful career of doing a variety of things. I have worked for other people at times. If you ever wanted to see what Randy Lee's work life was, just go to defumi.com. It's a comic strip that I've drawn over the years. That it illustrates what I was like when I worked for somebody else. I was I actually worked for AT&T Publishing for a long time, and basically and I also worked in the insurance industry. And when I did that,
sorry,
I broke every rule constantly, and the only way you can do that is if you're the top salesman on the staff, because otherwise they just fire you. Because in the minute you drop below top, they fire you. And anyway, Terry is so honest and straightforward and law abiding that she gets nervous with me being in the used cars business. So there's only one way to do the used car business and have my wife, and that's to do it straight up, as honest as possible. And we pray about every single vehicle. It's a big part of what I do. Pray about a vehicle that that the right buyer comes for that vehicle. And I can't tell you, Andrew, it is an amazing boost to my personal faith to see God working through my silly little car business and bringing the right people so often. You know, I'll have a vehicle that I'm thinking, man, this thing is really a piece of junk. But I think if the right guy came by, he could do this thing to the transmission and he'll have a good vehicle. And that right guy comes by almost every time. And if it doesn't,
so that was something that was interesting. So when I got the truck that I just sold a couple days ago, when I got it, you know, done, ready to get, you know, took pictures of it and listed it, I went for, well, I think first of all, I started out a little high as far as my list price, but I always prefer to start high and come low, because it's always easier to come down than to go up as far as price goes. But I started at 9,800
Mm-hmm.
and nothing. And I mean, I pushed this thing on Craigslist and Facebook and OfferUp and all the sale groups. And I join a lot of sale groups because when I sell something, I want to get, I want to reach that person that needs it.
Sure.
So I try to, get out to as many people as I can.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff, not a single, not even a hey, is this available? And then they never text you back.
Right.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a week goes by, and I've adjusted the price a couple times just because I'm like, I'm priced too high if nobody's even reaching out.
Right.
Finally got it down to where I was like, okay, what do I need to make on this car or on this truck to make what I need to make to hit the target? What's my bottom dollar? And then we'll come up from that by like $300. So I got some wiggle room, and we're going to list it that. And then so it's just, this was the first car or flip car that I've actually like prayed, God, bring the right buyer in for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it almost felt like, I don't want to say icky. It almost felt strange to do that, but it was like something about this truck was different, or not. It was interesting. There were just like little things. The truck had it had a little like stamped key tag on it. It was like the truck number, and the truck number was on the fender. It was 161, which is like, that caught my eye when I picked it up from the auction, because when I bought my house is lot number 161. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Anyways, spent like a week praying for the right buyer, got the price down to 6,500, and I was like, all right, this is dumb. And I paid for a Facebook ad, which I paid for an ad. I had cash in my hand less than 2 days later. Is it a fluke? Was it just me, or is it worth the $30? I don't know. But that was something that the people that bought it said. They said, we've been praying for a truck, and our friend just sent this one to us. And it was like, it just like everything came together and worked. And it was really cool to see. And they love this truck. I mean, like, they're a little crazy about it. Not gonna lie. It's like, calm down, guys. It's just a truck.
That's a great truck. And I can see this looking at it. It functionally, it looks like something that's going to be perfect for what you described. What a cool thing that is. Yeah, it is. It sounds crazy. I don't know. It doesn't sound crazy to me, and I don't think it sounds crazy to you anymore. But if you're out there listening to the Flipping Genius and you think Andrew and Randy are just kind of fruitcakes, hey, give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, but also we are kind of fruitcakes. So like, don't.
Yeah.
I can't. I'll let you speak for yourself.
Well, I've been a lot of things over the years, and I've had a lot of good influences that gradually, very gradually, kind of worked on me. So I've done things the wrong way many, many, many times, and I feel like what we do now at my company is the right way, and I feel good about. I feel good about deals. I still worry about them. I do worry about, because I sell old junky cars. We try to get them right, but they're never. You never know for sure. But
that's what I tell people. Like, that's what I told these people. I said, look, I'm telling you everything that I'm aware of on the truck. Like, I'm telling you everything I'm telling you what I've done to the truck. I'm telling you what I can see on the truck. So like, this truck had a couple things. Like, you by looking at it, it's got a almost new remanufactured transmission in it, and it's like, I'm estimating based on the amount of dirt that's on it, like the dust that's stuck to it, it's got about 10,000 miles on it. And is that, like I said, I don't have any receipts. Oh, you can look at this and you can see that it's new. You can look at this turbo, you can see that it's new. Was the price that I'm charging, you're buying a transmission and a turbo and getting a free truck.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth of the matter. And so it's like, that's what I told them. I'm like, I'm here to help you if you have any issues with the paperwork. Because I had like signed the title, and I signed in the wrong box. I signed in the buyer box, not the seller box. And so in Arizona, we have electronic titles, and because it's titled in my name, I filled out the electronic title. Like, there was a bit of a paperwork because I wasn't paying attention. But I said, if you have any issues, I'll help you out with paperwork. I said, obviously, this is an as-is truck. This truck has 232,000 miles on it. There are going to be things that break.
Sure.
You're not buying a new truck. You're not paying new truck prices. Don't expect new truck performance. And that's always what I tell people. It's like, look, I don't have a crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball and I could tell you exactly what was going to go wrong with this truck forever, then you think I'd be selling cars if I had a crystal ball? Like, really? I'd find something way more lucrative if I had one of those.
Exactly.
But like, it's what I told you. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Sure. But funny story on high mileage older cars that are, I won't say crappy, older cars. If you remember from the last time we had talked, I had talked about this Acura Integra that I had flipped.
Right.
I bought it for 500. I was into it for like 1,200, sold it for 36.
Mm-hmm.
So after we had talked, I got a text like a week or two later. So we're now like almost 2 months after I sold the car. I get a
Mm-hmm.
text from the person that bought it. And they were like, "Hey, we're not unhappy. We just don't know who to call, but we're having some problems with the car. Can we talk to you?" And I was like, "Sure. I mean, like, as long as we're on the same page that I'm not paying for it,
Right.
I'll help you out if I can over the phone." Because they live like an hour away. They live closer. I totally go over and look at the car for them,
Mm-hmm.
just as a good faith of, "Hey, I made money on you and I'm happy to help you out." But they were like, "We think it needs an engine," and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "That's weird." I rebuilt the top half of the engine. Like, everything looked great. I drove it quite a bit. It was fine. Like, I'm like, it needs anyway. So long story short, we went back and forth over text for a while, and then I called them and talked to them. And they said, "Hey, it won't start. We think it needs an." Or our friend who's a mechanic came over. He says it needs an engine.
Hmm.
And they sent me a couple of videos and back and forth, and I was like, "I don't think it needs an engine, like at all. I think maybe you have a distributor that went out. I don't really know, but take it to a shop that's like a reputable, qualified shop."
Right.
And I guess that wasn't something that was on their radar, was like taking it to a professional. Anyway, so I didn't hear from them for like a week or two, and then they texted me and they said, "Hey, we took it to two shops. They both say it needs an engine."
Huh.
And I'm like, "I really don't think it does. I'm not willing to drive. I'm not going to spend 3 hours on the road to prove that."
Right.
But I'm like, that's what I told them. They said they asked me if I would buy the car back, and I told them, and like not for full price, but like I'd reduce whatever it's worth. And I said, "Look, my final text to them was, I am willing to buy the car back, but it's worth $1,000 to me.
Right.
And even if it needs at $1,000, if it needs an engine, I can rebuild the engine. I can get it. I can put less than $1,000 into it, and still I can make money on it again, basically."
Right. Right.
So I told him, "Look, I will give you $1,000, but I will feel horrible selling you a car and then buying it back because the engine blew up on it 2 months later. Like, I'm gonna feel terrible. And these cars are worth money. Don't sell it to me for $1,000. Sell it to somebody else. You could probably get almost 2,000 out of it."
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last I heard. But yeah, but that was one where, like, good communication up front. I still don't. I expressed again that I'm skeptical that it needs an engine, because
Right.
it super didn't need an engine when I sold it.
Right.
And I changed the oil and did all the maintenance to it and all that. But really good, clear communication is important when
Mm-hmm.
you're selling cars, especially if you're a private party starting this up as a side hustle. Things like, a written bill of sale. So my bill of sale is pretty simple. It says, my name, sold to you, your name, this car, put in the
Mm-hmm.
VIN number,
Mm-hmm.
and this sale is as is, where is, with no warranty given, offered, or implied. That line is what I always include with mine.
Right.
And I ended up having to go to small claims court about 5 years
Ah,
ago because a guy apparently didn't read the as is, where is part.
yeah.
And his $1,600 car, the carpet was dirty and he needed new carpet.
Oh,
And he took me to court, wanted me to buy the car back for full price. And I was like,
wow.
"You're crazy, dude."
That's amazing. That's amazing. I often, like I said this morning on my note on the forum, I just have them read Dennis Johnson's notes. He tells them exactly what's wrong with the car. I don't fix everything on there, and I'll say these things I didn't fix because he said we don't have to. And then I'll say if you'd rather like, because I know you probably distrust me because I'm a used car dealer and you think I'm probably a thief. Call Gary at Dennis Johnson. He's the most reputable guy around here. Call Gary. He sits in the back and supervises all the mechanics. He'll tell you exactly what's wrong. And then sometime at some point in the future, I'll bring Gary some donuts for aggravating him by having people call him and just help me out. But I think
it's all about
the
it's all
truth,
about building relationships,
yeah, and
right?
the
And
truth is such a great tool. It
mm-hmm,
allows me to go grocery shopping and not have to worry who's on that next aisle at the grocery store.
exactly,
It makes my
exactly.
wife happy, and it makes customers happy like these folks. And I do pray that everything's going to go smooth as silk for the next couple months, and they'll bring that van back to me, and I give them their money that I promised to buy the vehicle, and they can go back to Africa because that's what they want to do. I'm not wishing the Africa thing on them, but that's where they want to go back to, and God bless them for doing that work. So Andrew, I'm sorry to keep jumping over here, but and I know my Zoom thing is
I
telling
know. I see the clock going.
me. So you wound up making how much on these two trucks? What was your
Okay, so let me pull up real quick so I can actually quote you the correct numbers. I have a spreadsheet because I actually track this stuff.
Sure.
Um, all right. So on the 2005 truck,
Hmm.
we sold at we're at 2005. Okay, we were into it for like $5 less than $2,000, like $1,995. Into it, we sold for 68. So that's a $4,800 profit.
Sweet.
On that one, on the 2005. On the 2004, I ended up fixing the seat. The seat was all torn up, and so I went in and I put a new seat cover on it. And that one we were into for about $2,200, and we sold that one for 65. So we came out with a net profit there. We were at, quick math in my head, $9,100 in two trucks.
Great. That's fantastic.
So
now
yeah.
you're not. Are you counting the value of your time towards that?
No, that's
Yeah.
strictly dollars spent in versus sale price.
Okay.
So
That's because you do all the mechanical work on these things, right?
yeah. So I'm not on the one it was missing a bumper and the fender was all banged up. So I put like a fender and a bumper and a window crank and a door handle, like just both of this was a strange flip. Both these were kind of a strange flip for me because most of the flips that I've done in the past is I buy a car with a mechanical problem, I fix the mechanical problem, I sell the car. This was almost entirely
Cosmetic.
I did some mechanical work, just like, maintenance items, but this was more cosmetic. I bought it looking ugly. Some more people don't usually go looking for trucks, and I fixed it and brought it where people are looking for trucks and sold it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. $9,100
Yeah.
on two trucks with not a ton of money getting into them. I mean, those are you're buying into those things for around middleman. That's my company, around middleman prices, which I am notorious around here for being like the cheapest, down lowest
Yeah.
at the car auction.
Yeah, to get into the two trucks, we were $2,600 to get them home, and then I did emissions test on both of them because my insurance covers them for like 14 days because it's a new acquisition. So I did the emissions test, transferred the titles into my name because I bought from Ritchie Brothers or Ritchie Bros Auctioneers. They write your name in on the title because I won the bid. So I had to transfer them into my name. I did all that like day one, so that was like $68 in title plus $25 in emissions test per truck. And then I brought them home. I parked one in the back and I went after the one that was most like the least amount of money in.
Right.
So then I was in like 26, put in another, what was that? Another like $600 or $700 in. And then I sold that one. And then I took the profit from that one to put into the next one. And just kind of keep that ball rolling. So that's kind of the trick.
Exciting stuff. My clock's telling me we're down to the last minute. I want to make sure everybody knows to find your YouTube channel at Rogue Wrenching and find a new podcast that Andrew's coming out with soon after July 1st, the American Not Partisan podcast. It's going to be awesome. I love that. I love that concept.
I did a video on the headliner replacement. I will send you a link so you can put it in the show notes.
That would be fantastic, man. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us again. Keep participating. We love your input. You're helping a lot of people on the car flipping forum. You're a good man. Thank you, man.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, Randy. Good to talk to you again.